Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. While the American flag is something everyone wants to see flying on the 4th, it's not something a service member's family wants to receive. But when they do, it has to be done right. Our reporters went to learn the solemn process of flag folding. And we have got a lot of 4th of July cheer for you tonight. Americans from coast to coast are celebrating Independence Day. Parades, music, and fireworks are some of the 4th of July festivities. Around the 4th of July, Americans unfurl their flags and let them fly freely, just like what it symbolizes. But most people don't know there is a proper way to fold it and put it away. NTD's Eileen Ang learns how to fold a flag from a U.S. veteran.
When most people see the American flag, they associate it with freedom. But did you know the process of folding a flag has meaning too? Richard Kiefer was a pilot during the 1960s. He is now a docent on the USS Hornet Museum, teaching the younger generation about U.S. military history, which includes flag folding. Delivering a flag to the relatives of a fallen service member always carries a story.
In my presentation of the flag, I've got some idea of what his service was and how he died. But there is a script that we use that's given to us as a recommendation that basically says we're sorry for your loss, but on behalf of the President of the United States, Secretary of the Navy, Secretary of the Marine Corps, we feel your pain, and on behalf of a grateful nation, we'd like to accept the flag for your deceased person.
Kiefer recalls his first time folding an American flag.
My first case, if you will, was a corpsman, a Navy corpsman. So he was embedded with the Marine Battalion in Vietnam and saved, on the day he was killed, saved about 47 of his Marines and died in the same action. He got a Silver Star for that.
His station had no honor guard at the time, so they had to form one to hold a funeral for the fallen.
I'm looking at a young woman who's about 19 years old with a baby he had never seen. And that was just so tough, and it's very, very vivid in my mind right now. And it was a very, very tough thing for me to get out and choke out. But I managed to get through it okay.
Flag folding consists of 13 folds, each with a meaning and a verse.
First fold, a symbol of life.
Each fold is careful, precise, and aligned.
When you finish with the folds, it has to look a certain way. You cannot have any white showing, for example, or red showing on the fold. It all has to be the star field, or the canton field, of the flag, so that it represents the final fold, which is the respect of God.
By the 13th fold, it should look like a triangle. Kiefer said the triangle represents the hats the sailors and soldiers wore during the Revolutionary War. The flag would then be presented with both hands to the honor guard, with the long side facing out and the point facing oneself. Kiefer says presenting the point first is disrespectful. Now he educates the public about U.S. history and what freedom means to him.
That is something that is given to you by people that died for you to have that privilege in this country.
Kayla Hurtado, a recent graduate and a teacher, has been fascinated with history since she was young. During the pandemic, she regularly visited the USS Hornet and learned how to fold a flag from Kiefer.
It was a very emotional experience, and also as he was teaching me, I was sweating. I was making sure I made the right fold, and every time I kept getting it wrong, I was like, Richard, what's going on? But he was really patient with me.
She finds motivation to get the perfect fold.
To me, it's very hard because you have to get all the folds right. But I try to think about the people that I love and the people who serve this country in order for me to motivate me even more to get that fold right. I want to do it for them and for my loved ones as well.
Usually, the folding is done in mid-air with at least 2 people, or 6 at a gravesite. Kiefer says the USS Hornet offers slightly different flag presentations depending on the service requested. Eileen Ang, NTD News, California.
Thousands are in the nation's capital tonight to celebrate the birth of American independence. Many are now waiting to see the fireworks show after watching a parade march down Constitution Avenue earlier today. NTD's Melina Weisskopf brings the details.
I love freedom of speech, freedom of religion. Here is quite wonderful, and you shouldn't take it for granted.
Costello is a new U.S. citizen celebrating alongside others who want to remind everyone to cherish the opportunity to live in the land of freedom.
The situation around the world has changed drastically, and sometimes when we're in the U.S., we don't appreciate the freedoms that we have. Freedom of expression, tolerance, respect, the right to prosper.
The crowd gathered along Constitution Avenue to enjoy the festivities, floats, bands, and dancers. It's called America's biggest and best Independence Day parade.
This parade in the heart of the nation has gathered folks from all across the states and all across the world. We asked people in the crowd what it means in this day and age to be a proud American.
People having a thought or an idea and taking action on that, and fighting for freedom.
To be an American, it's to have freedom and independence, and I'm excited to share that with my kids.
Of all places, Washington, D.C. is where to tap into the pulse of the country and the history of our founding story and our traditions. Traditions that many say we should get back to.
Getting back to God and serving Him. I feel like this country has walked away from Him and turned their back on Him. And we should love each other and welcome each other. And I feel like this country's been filled full of hatred for so long against each other. I feel like we just need to come back together and be one again.
Others sharing a similar message say American values are based on our differences being respectfully embraced.
We have to be reminded of what unites us, not necessarily of what divides us. If we keep going to the extremes, that's not what we're about. And I think that's what's caused the divisiveness.
About not letting the individualities, the differences, the differences in culture and color and race and ethnicity divide us, but let us be a reason for us all to come to the table and talk to one another, because they can be embraced even if we don't agree.
This inspirational message is spread tonight across the nation as people gather to commemorate the day our country was born. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
While the nation's capital celebrates, so does everyone back home in California. Our reporters up and down the state heard from Americans during the annual Independence Day festivities. NTD's David Lamb brings us more.
This is the annual 4th of July parade in Redwood City, and it draws in thousands of spectators each year to enjoy Independence Day. Americans filled downtown Redwood City streets with music, colorful floats, and of course, the red, white, and blue. According to its website, it's the largest Independence Day parade in Northern California, attracting people from across the state.
Happy 4th of July!
On July 4th, 1776, the country gained independence and it became the birth of the American nation. Locals told us what July 4th means to them.
You know what, it's a celebration of America's independence, but it's also a reminder of the wonderful things that this country has accomplished, but a reminder of how far we have to go.
What does 4th of July means to you guys?
Oh, it means a lot. I mean, it's the day that we all come out and enjoy what everything is about, you know?
It's definitely a time for everyone to come together. That's for sure.
Animals, young Americans, and veterans also paraded through the streets with their banners and floats.
You know, it's a small price for freedom that we all had endured.
It's nice to see all the different cultures get together and enjoy one holiday together as USA, so it's really nice.
Which of America's freedom do you value or appreciate the most as an American?
The freedom of speech. I mean, that's the biggest one. In the rest of the world, you have to worry about what you say, and here you might be wrong, but you could say whatever you want, and people can counter it, and they can have an argument, and you can go ahead and fight against each other, but at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and that's the beauty of it.
Freedom of speech.
Free and fair elections, and the preservation of our democracy and the protection of our democracy, which frankly is under attack in certain parts of this country.
Over in Orange County, its parade has a 2.5-mile route from Pacific Coast Highway and makes its way past the Huntington Beach Pier and onto Main Street. NTD also spoke to locals at the parade.
We're super excited that the parade's finally back after 2 years being gone because of COVID, and just being patriotic in Huntington Beach is the best thing ever.
We're longtime residents from 1966, and we love it. We see all of our friends, and we just love everybody coming out to support America and our freedom.
It's very emotional for us because we get some recognition, and being veterans, the sacrifices that were made by these people are very special.
Different groups shared their freedom of belief and culture.
We're representing Falun Dafa being truthfulness, compassion, tolerant, and we also want the world to know that the persecution is happening in China. And at the same time, we want to spread how great Falun Dafa is.
Well, we're here to spread the aloha and have everyone enjoy their 4th of July Hawaiian style.
Is this your first time of being in the parade?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So how do you feel? Good.
And even further down is Coronado's parade in San Diego County, where they're celebrating their 73rd annual July 4th parade. The city has deep roots with the Navy.
It's a celebration of, the courage and the bravery of the men and women who fought for our independence and our right to self-determination.
For me, it just means family coming together and just enjoying life, and I feel really grateful that I get to be with my family here today.
That even during times when the people in government have not always been perfect, America's promise as a country is perfect, and that's very important to me.
It means to me that everybody gets to celebrate it and have fun, because I feel like America should be appreciated in its own ways, and it should be appreciated because it's a beautiful place where everyone can live in harmony.
Our fellow Californians wish everyone a happy and safe Independence Day.
God bless America.
And happy 4th, everyone.
Happy 4th of July.
And happy 4th of July. Aloha. Say aloha.
Aloha.
David Lamb, NTD News, California.
We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we've got for you when we come back. California's governor has a new advertisement, but the target audience is Florida residents. We have more on what his message is and why he is targeting Florida. A former Chamber of Commerce CEO in California has pleaded guilty to multiple federal charges. His plea comes as a part of a string of corruption cases at the city of Anaheim. That and more on California Today. California's governor has a new message for Florida residents. Come to California. The message aired in a new advertisement the California governor paid for to run over the July 4th weekend. NTD's Cynthia Kai has what may be driving the message.
As Americans are busy celebrating over the July 4th weekend, California Governor Gavin Newsom has been busy running new advertisements in Florida.
It's Independence Day, so let's talk about what's going on in America. Freedom, it's under attack in your state. Your Republican leaders, they're banning books, making it harder to vote.
Newsom's advertisement comes as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis recently signed a handful of new legislation into law. These include a 15-week abortion ban, the most restrictive in the country. Another is the parental rights in education law. This prohibits the discussion of sexual orientation or gender identity in kindergarten through 3rd grade classrooms. This isn't the first time Newsom has invoked Florida or DeSantis' policies during election season. For example, during Newsom's 2021 recall election, he criticized conservative policies regarding COVID. NTD reached out to Governor DeSantis' office for comment. Newsom closed his 30-second advertisement by urging Floridans to move to California. Earlier this year, California officials confirmed the state's population declined for the second consecutive year in 2021. And California lost a seat in Congress for the first time after the U.S. Census showed it did not grow as fast as other states.
On Thursday, the U.S. Supreme Court imposed limits on the federal government's authority to issue sweeping regulations to reduce carbon emissions from power plants. One legal expert says it could affect climate change regulations.
In a 6-3 ruling on Thursday, the Supreme Court restricted the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA's authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions. Those emissions are the ones that come from existing coal and gas-fired power plants. It's part of the landmark Clean Air Act anti-pollution law, and the Supreme Court has ruled that the EPA has been acting illegally in its enforcement of that act. Blake Emerson, professor of law at the UCLA School of Law, said the ruling could have repercussions for other climate change regulations.
But the basis on which the court made the decision is so broad that you could apply the same logic to any number of other regulations that the EPA or other agencies might implement to try to address climate change.
Emerson says he's criticizing the court because they do not have any basis in the text of the statute or its legislative history to support the conclusion it reaches. Governor Gavin Newsom said California will invest $53.9 billion towards climate commitment.
The idea that the U.S. Supreme Court moved to take away one of the most significant and historically powerful tools to address the ravages of climate change is incomprehensible.
The court's 6 conservatives were in the majority in the decision, with the 3 liberals dissenting. The ruling has wider implications and potential limitations for the 432 bureaucratic agencies in the country, of which the EPA is just one. Chief Justice John Roberts gave an example in the main opinion. We would not expect the Department of Homeland Security to make trade or foreign policy, even though doing so could decrease illegal immigration. The concurring opinion cited that the founders intentionally made laws difficult to create and limited who could have power to create laws, including agencies. Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote for the concurring opinion, agencies could churn out new laws more or less at whim. Intrusions on liberty would not be difficult and rare, but easy and profuse. The EPA and White House said that administration lawyers are analyzing the decision and seeking ways to address emissions under existing laws.
A former CEO of Anaheim's Chamber of Commerce has pleaded guilty to multiple federal charges. He is facing jail time in federal prison and will also be required to pay back taxes. NTD's Daniel Hall reports.
Todd Ament, former CEO and president of Anaheim's Chamber of Commerce, has pleaded guilty to a range of federal charges. Those include tax fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, receiving illegal kickbacks, defrauding COVID-19 pandemic relief funds, and making false statements. According to officials, Ament and an unnamed national public relations consultant laundered funds through the Chamber of Commerce to acquire a home in San Bernardino. Prosecutors said that Ament also received multiple kickbacks from the unnamed consultant. The funds were transferred from multiple banks to the Chamber's bank. In addition, Ament misused COVID-19 small business relief loans. He spent the money on personal items. Ament is scheduled to be sentenced on December 9th. His plea agreement will require him to cooperate with officials and pay $250,000 in back taxes. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, he faces up to 20 years for each wire fraud count, up to 30 years for making a false statement, and 3 years for tax fraud. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California.
Now to NTD's Daniel Hall, sitting in for Thomas Christian for your sports update.
Dylan Cease won a duel of 2 pitchers. Gavin Sheets doubled twice and drove in a pair of runs as Chicago made it 2 in a row over host San Francisco. The White Sox took the lead for good in the 4th against Giants starter Logan Webb, who had pitched to a 0.45 ERA in his previous 3 starts. But a bit of bad luck prevented him from building upon those impressive numbers. 2 throwing errors on potential double play grounders contributed to all 5 Chicago runs, helping the White Sox win for a 3rd time in their last 4 games while sending the Giants to a 9th defeat in their last 12 contests. White Sox 5, Giants 3. Tyler Anderson was in control into the 7th inning, and Los Angeles got off to a fast start with 3 first-inning home runs in a victory against visiting San Diego. Freddie Freeman and Will Smith hit back-to-back home runs in the opening inning. Justin Turner added another early long ball as the National League West leading Dodgers improved to a 5-1 against the second-place Padres this season. Anderson gave up 1 run on 6 hits over 6 1/3 innings as Los Angeles moved a victory away from a 4-game sweep. Luke Voigt hit a home run among his 2 hits for the Padres, while starter Yu Darvish struck out a season-high 10 batters. San Diego lost for the 6th time in 7 games. Dodgers 7, Padres 2. Mariners' Abram Toro singled home the winning run with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th inning as Seattle defeated visiting Oakland. Pinch hitter Justin Upton tied the score at 1-1 on a home run with 1 out in the 8th off A's reliever A.J. Puck. Diego Castillo pitched a scoreless 9th to earn the victory. Both starters were excellent. Oakland's Paul Blackburn pitched 6 1/3 scoreless innings and allowed 4 hits, walked 1, and struck out 5. Mariners rookie George Kirby, a fellow right-hander, went 7 innings and gave up 1 run on 3 hits. He walked 1 and tied a career high with 9 strikeouts. Mariners 2, A's 1. The California Classic is a short off-season event right before the NBA Summer League starts. It's also our first look at a few of these teams' newest players from the draft or from any other offseason movement. Keon Ellis scored 17 points, Neemias Queta added 14, and Sacramento topped Miami 81-64 on Day 2 of the California Classic on Sunday. The game featured 10 ties and 16 lead changes before Sacramento put the win away by outscoring Miami 21-8 in the 4th quarter. Frankie Ferrari added 11 for the Kings. Javonte Smart scored 12 for Miami, which got 11 from Kyle Allman Jr. and 10 apiece from Orlando Robinson and Michael Mulder. Kings 81, Heat 64. Cole Swider made 5 3-pointers and scored 16 points. Scotty Pippen Jr. added 15, and the Lakers easily topped Golden State in the 2nd game Sunday at the California Classic. Jay Huff added 10 for the Lakers. Lester Quinones scored 19, and Peyton Willis added 11 for the Warriors. Sacramento will finish the event Tuesday against the Los Angeles Lakers, while Miami finishes Tuesday against Golden State. Lakers 100, Warriors 77.
That's all for tonight. You can join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. If you have any news tips or ideas for our show, or you just want to let us know how we're doing, our email is california.today@ntd.com. I'm Liang Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.